Joining me on Air Sports News, Jim McCormick. We're going to talk all about the Skydiving Museum. Tell me the actual title of it, Jim.
It's the International Skydiving Museum and Hall of Fame. The international part is really important because it truly is an international organization.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a residual of it being perceived as a U.S. project, and we've been working to escape that perception. And it's certainly understandable, but for a significant period of time, it was called the National Skydiving Museum because it was intended just to address the U.S. And it was at one time conceived to be co-located with the United States Parachute Association. None of that is, all that is history. And of course, because it will be located in the U.S., it's perceived a little bit as a U.S. initiative, but it has become very internationalized. I'm very proud of the fact that almost a third of the people in the International Skydiving Hall of Fame are non-Americans.
Yes.
And we have a member of the FAI Executive Committee on our board. We have the current president of the International Skydiving Commission on our board. So it is very much an international entity.
So tell me where we're at the moment with the museum, Jim, and tell me how it all started. When did this all begin?
That's actually a fun story. There was a gentleman who was quite prominent in international skydiving by the name of Bill Otley.
Yeah.
And many years ago, like in the 70s, he said, and he was known to be quite a visionary, he said, there will come a day when this sport requires a museum and will demand, and apparently he used that specific word from somebody who reported it to me, will demand a Hall of Fame. He said, that time is not yet here. If you think about it, in the 70s, we didn't have really much of a history.
Right.
We didn't start to become much of a sport until the early 60s. But he said, the time will come. And he said, what I want to do is I'd like to establish the organization knowing that this is something down the road. And for an extended period of time, it was nothing more than an idea and a handful of people that served. The most important thing they did is they went out and got a tax-exempt status so that it would be a legitimate charity when the time came to start raising funds.
Yeah.
So that was it. And then it went through a couple of different iterations about how it was going to proceed. And now it's settled on being at a location that is quite near the Disney properties in Orlando. It is a superb location. It's just under 2 acres. It is within what they call the tourist corridor. And the significance of that is twofold. One is Orlando gets about 75 million tourism visits a year. Obviously, that's critically important to us because we know from our economic projections that have been done by economists that specialize in museums that the great majority of our visitors will be non-skydivers.
Yeah.
You couldn't be successful if you're only appealing to skydivers. We need to have a portion of that visitation available to us. And the other thing we've learned from them is that as they report, people that go to Disney Orlando don't go far from there. And so unless you're relatively close, you're not going to get the benefit of all of that visitation.
Yeah, yeah. And just thinking about the museum and the stories, I mean, I've just come back a couple of days ago from the Lost Prairie Boogie up in Montana. I was organizing up there. Every morning I was having coffee with all these people that I've known for years who were, many of them quite a bit older than me. And we're just telling these stories, some incredible stories about the early days of the sport. And it just occurred to me, we need to get these stories down somewhere because once these guys have gone, that's the history is gone, right?
There is it's interesting. I was preparing an article yesterday for the people at for Leslie at Skydive Mag.
Yeah.
And I was going through some of the comments that have been made about the museum. And there's a great one from Greg Windmiller. I'm going to read it to you because it speaks to exactly what you just said. And this is on one of the videos that we have on our Facebook page. It says, the way of the campfire has gone away. People stopped going to the campfire and the stories stopped getting told. Somebody needs to keep telling the stories. I think the museum is there the most amazing way I can possibly fathom to keep telling the stories. If it wasn't for the stories, we wouldn't be where we're at.
Really interesting. So you've got a location, you've got some funds collected already. How far along are we to actually getting bricks on the ground?
We are further along than we've ever been. Let me give you the specifics of the update. Earlier this year, we went through a selection process, late last year, earlier this year, for the architectural firm that will design the building and for the exhibit design firm that will design all the interiors and the exhibits and fabricate the exhibits and so forth. They've been engaged and they're underway with that process.
Yeah.
Okay. That process is fairly extensive. It goes through 3 different phases: schematic design, design development, and then construction drawings. When we have construction drawings, we then have to go through a permitting process with the appropriate municipal authorities. And then we go through the process of selecting our contractor and the bidding process, and then initiating construction. During all of that, Regan, we have to sell the land that we own in Virginia, which is adjacent to the USPA headquarters, because we need to get the value out of that to be able to put into the new facility down in Orlando. And we need to raise some more money. We will only go so far. We're taking this a step at a time. Obviously, our board is very keen to be responsible in this process. We're not going to get out ahead of ourselves. And we will only move forward and pull the pin on initiating construction when we know we have the money to be able to complete the first phase of the project. When I say the first phase, we'll build the entire building and many of the exhibits. We will not have 100% of the exhibits there the day we open. That's just not how museums work. They tend to open with a portion of their exhibits, enough for it to be a substantial experience, and then continue the fundraising process. And the other thing that will happen, Regan, is that we will, as time goes on and we're successful, we'll also upgrade the exhibits and probably add a lot more technology and things of that sort. Some of the stuff that's kind of pricey, but will be an important part of the process. But please don't misunderstand. On day one, it will be a profound experience.
Yes, I'm sure. Did I hear something in the wind a couple of years ago that there was thoughts of having a wind tunnel attached to it? Is that something? have I made that up, or did I hear that somewhere? Or?
No, it's better than that. Because what we did is we acquired a campus which has the land for the museum, and adjacent to us will be a wingsuit wind tunnel. A wingsuit wind tunnel.
Whoa.
The wonderful people at Incline Labs in Stockholm have partnered with us, not financially, but we've collaborated together. And they've bought the land that's immediately next to us. We will actually share parking lots. It will be the first wingsuit wind tunnel outside, the second one in the world, and the first one in North America. And it's going to be a brilliant facility because it's going to have an entire glass wall. As it's currently planned, the flight chambers, and there's going to be 2, are going to have glass walls. So you'll actually be able to see people wingsuiting from outside of the building.
Brilliant.
You'll be able to see them from our building. We have windows so we can see them and they can see us. People walking into our building will be able to look over and see people bouncing around in the wingsuit tunnel.
Brilliant.
On the other side is a 1.2 acre parcel, which is preserved for a vertical wind tunnel. We don't yet have an operator for that. We are very interested in proposals for that location. We are hopeful that we can find a talented, a credible operator to put in a very large tunnel, so that ultimately what we have is the International Skydiving Museum Hall of Fame. On the west side is the wingsuit wind tunnel. On the east side is a vertical wind tunnel. And the entire thing will be branded as the Skydive Experience without the first Eon experience. And that's how it'll be promoted to the public.
Sounds absolutely fantastic.
The goal, Regan, is you got to provide something in that setting where a family can come and they can have an experience for half a day to a full day. And that's what we can provide. And when I talk about families, be mindful. The wingsuit wind tunnel is not just for wingsuiters. You can go in there as a non-wingsuiter. You can go there as a non-skydiver, and they can take children as young as 8 years old and put them in a wingsuit and put them in the tunnel.
Incredible. I mean, that's what families want when they're in Orlando. Every day they're looking for something new to do, so it's perfect.
And we will give them exactly that. And keep in mind, we know that the great majority of our visitors, as I mentioned, will be non-skydivers. So we're going to present them with our sport in the most positive of terms. Part of what I find so exciting about the entire concept is, if you think about it, Regan, as skydivers, sometimes it's frustrating because when does the public hear about our sport? Usually it's when things don't work out well. And it's usually translated by somebody who either doesn't understand skydiving or doesn't appreciate skydiving. This is an opportunity for us to present skydiving in our own and most positive terms.
It sounds absolutely amazing. We were just down at the World Games in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was on the canopy piloting site was on the site of the Barber Motorsport Museum. And I'm not a big motorsport fan, but we had some time, we went inside. And it was just really, really fascinating to see all the cars and see all the bikes. So I can totally understand how somebody who is not a skydiver, who is not involved in the sport, would have an amazing time there, especially with two wind tunnels to go and playing in as well.
Well, and the design, Dimensional Innovations is our exhibit design firm. They've designed the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Minnesota Vikings Museum, the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame, the National World War I Museum, and the Evel Knievel Museum, which has extensive virtual reality. You actually can sit on a motorcycle and recreate the jump that he did over all of the school buses.
Yeah.
And I jokingly say, and the VR includes the ride to the ambulance ride to the hospital.
How did you get involved, Jim, with this project?
It was by chance. A good friend of mine, BJ Worth, was very active in this project. And BJ and I were working together in 2015 on bringing a team to the air show in Oshkosh, AirVenture Air Show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And it was a phenomenal experience. We brought a team of 108 and did free fall from 20,000 feet 3 different times over the top of the air show, something they'd never seen before. And just in the course of one thing led to the other, we were having a discussion about it at the museum and so forth. And I said, BJ, are you aware that I'm working at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans as a fundraiser? He said, no, I had no idea. So I have a background in having done this, but my passion, of course, is skydiving. And so he asked me to come present to the board and say, this is where you are, and this is where you want to be, and this is the path that you can take. And that was the genesis of the involvement in the project.
How much of your time does it take up now?
Oh, it's about a halftime experience.
Yeah.
I have lots of other things I do and clients that I serve, but it's a privilege. It is. I mean this genuinely. It is a privilege to be part of this critical project. It is a privilege to work with our trustees. We have 21 amazing individuals on our board. We have 59 trustees at large, which are some of the biggest names in the sport that have signed on to support the project. We have 185 as of today ambassadors, which are members of the skydiving community that are supporting us financially. I mean, it is a major undertaking, and it's really neat to be part of it.
Yeah, not bad for a niche sport, eh? We're doing okay. We're really getting the word out there.
We are a niche sport, but you know what? We fascinate people.
Yes.
And one of the things I remind people of is what we lose track of this sometimes, Regan, but what we do is innately inspiring. It's inspiring to people that have never jumped and will never jump.
Yeah.
And when we can take that and we can share that with the rest of the world, it's inspiring to those.
Yeah, especially now. I mean, you cannot watch any Marvel movie without some skydiving scenes in there. It just seems to be in all the blockbuster movies. We've got something in there, and people are aware of it, and people have seen it as well. And I've seen some of the renderings on the Facebook page of what the indoor might look like of the tunnel of the museum. It looks really, really good, really interesting. What I've seen so far.
Well, part of our goal is to be able to present people, basically create a virtual experience of skydiving, because most people will never jump, but we can put them into that environment. And towards that end, one of the major offerings that we're working on is a 360-degree theater with a video floor. Now think about that.
Yeah.
And then you put them in, they walk into this off the tailgate of a plane, and they're in free fall. And I think it's going to be disquieting to some people because it's going to be so realistic. I've been in the simulators where they had some footage on the bottom of a helicopter, and you're looking for something to hang on to because it really is effective, because it's all your peripheral vision is engaged. And we want them to leave excited about skydiving. We want to convert some of the people that walk through the door so that they want to go out and do a skydive. We will make information available about throughout the world where they can go do their skydives. For the countries that are affiliated with us, for their federations and associations, there will actually be information on where the skydiving facilities are in their countries that they can go to. So we are very much about promoting skydiving, and part of the way we can do it is by demystifying it.
Brilliant. Sounds great, Jim. I love the passion for it, and it sounds like the project is a lot further on than I actually thought it was. What's next? What's happening? Obviously, you've got the Hall of Fame inductees ceremony coming up.
Yes, the first week in October, we'll be in DeLand and Daytona. It's an interesting format that we're doing this year. The daytime activities will be at Skydive DeLand, and we'll have some forums. Bill Booth is going to do a forum on the 50 years of skydiving history. Chris Gay is going to do a forum on how to effect a world-class demo with all the pyrotechnics and all of the communication systems and all that are now necessary to do a world-class demo. And that's going to be particularly significant because the night before Chris is going to orchestrate a team doing a demo onto the beach in Daytona. And the reason they're going to do that is a tribute jump to the winners of the Path of Excellence Award for this year. And the Path of Excellence this award year is being awarded to the World Team 2006 400 way team.
Right.
And so that will take place, that event will take place in the band shell on the beach in Daytona. So the evening events will be in Daytona, including the induction ceremony on Saturday night. The Path of Excellence and the Pioneer of Excellence Awards will be given out on Friday. Pioneers of Excellence is for, the way these awards work, Regan, is the Path of Excellence is for entities, not individuals, but it's the equivalent of the Hall of Fame, but it's for teams and companies and organizations. So that's why the 400, it's previously been awarded to the team that did the Olympic ring ceremony, our jump in Seoul, South Korea, 1988, for the 100-way diamond. It is a very high level of recognition. The Pioneers of Excellence is for similar entities, but that made their contributions in years prior to 1970s or in the mid-70s. Because what we found is the Path of Excellence in the selection process, it was eclipsing the people who made, the organizations that made significant contributions early on, because the other ones were more current. And so the first recipient of the Path of Pioneers of Excellence was Paragear Equipment Company. You think about it, in the 60s and 70s, if you needed parachute equipment and you lived anywhere in the world and the US, it was the primary source for that. So it really advanced the sport. This year, it's going to be awarded to the 1970 relative work demonstration team. And these are the people that it's an amazing story, because what they did is, and I'm sure you're aware, they traveled the world and showed people that it was possible for 20 skydivers to fly together and actually create formations. And up prior to that time, nobody had seen such a thing. And at that time, it was style and accuracy. And all of a sudden, you see 20 jumpers coming out of a plane and actually doing what came to be known as relative work. And this is the 1970 free fall exhibition team. And so they very much deserve that award. Those will be awarded Friday night. Saturday night, we'll have our induction ceremony for all the new members of the Hall of Fame.
Fantastic. It sounds absolutely brilliant. Really inspiring, Jim. I want to thank you for your time today. It's been really good to get an update and a catch up on where the Hall of Fame and the International Skydiving Museum is at. But Jim McCormick, thank you very much for your time and joining us on Air Sports News.
It's a pleasure, Regan. Always happy to update you.
Take care.
Take care.